Welcome to Automation Unscripted, an educational, frank, and fun podcast dedicated to the art of business process automation. Automation Unscripted is brought to you by Virtual Operations, a leading consultancy in digital transformation, with more than a decade's experience working with organizations to help them grow their return on investment in automation.
Welcome back to another episode of Automation Unscripted. As always, I'm joined by Kieran, and today we're going to be discussing intelligent automation. How are you doing, Kieran?
Doing great. Looking forward to this one because this builds on all the stuff we've done before, Dan, particularly on top of robotic process automation. This is the exciting end where you start to put a combination of digital tools into your digital toolkit to allow you to do a heck of a lot of things.
Yeah, and I mean, the list could really go on forever here. So we've tried to boil it down to around 7. And I see these as sort of, we talked about AI and we talked about RPA. They're both individual levers that an organization can pull. What we're doing here is we're putting more under the banner of intelligent automation. So 7 at the moment. It could be a list of 20, but let's start there.
Our audience are now going, oh my God, I've 7 to listen to here. Don't worry, we'll be quick.
So the first one is RPA, Robotic Process Automation. I don't think we need to go too much into this. I mean, we spoke about it on the last podcast or one of our earlier ones. And this really involves software robots to automate those repetitive rule-based tasks. And really, most organizations should be familiar with the term robotic process automation by now.
They should. These are the fingers, aren't they? The things that clickety-click on the keyboard to get stuff done that normally people would do.
The next one I've sort of bundled together here is AI and machine learning. And this really is AI and machine learning are crucial for adding those sort of thinking cognitive capabilities around automation. So the parts really that RPA can't do there. They enable your systems to learn from sort of data. They allow you to make decisions and improve over time. I've put a couple here of sort of subsections of this. So we've got natural language processing, computer vision, and then predictive analytics. I'll start with natural language processing. So this assists with understanding human language. So if you imagine a call center, if you're having an AI listening into sort of customers talking, it can really get things like sentiment analysis, the type of interactions that you had with customers, and even go as far to do, say, content generation.
I like NLP, actually. See, the sentiment analysis in particular, to understand how your customers or staff are feeling. That's powerful because that gives you information you need suddenly to take action, be it customer service action, remedial action to stop exits of staff, or a whole host of variety of things. And again, I think that customers are used to or desire 24/7 service. So where you can use that form of AI or machine learning to improve customer service interactions, by goodness, does your business start to meet and greet your customers at a digital level that they want.
Yeah, also maybe a little bit terrifying. I'm concerned that they've been listening to a frustrated me on the end of a conversation screaming at a robot because I can't get through to a person.
I think that's robots done wrong, isn't it? And that really is, it doesn't matter the technologies that we talk about at the best of times. If you implement it badly, you will have that horrendous customer experience. That's not something we obviously recommend you write down.
Yeah, and the next one here also is computer vision. And this enables automated systems to interpret and process visual information. So this might be, say, something like a quality inspection, looking at an image via a camera. It could be documents processing, and also things like identity verification, right? So IDs, things of that nature. It would then be able to analyze those and then tell you the next steps, whether you're verified and whether ID is real or not. Something of that nature. And then the last one's predictive analytics. So this is where we use historical data to predict future trends. And this will help in areas such as demand forecasting, maintenance scheduling, and risk management.
Yeah. If you can see into the future based on all of the patterns and trends of the past, by goodness, have you got a powerful sight compared to anyone else. And I love that maintenance schedule, one where business operations, particularly in the manufacturing world, can determine in advance of something failing that it's probably going to fail, and therefore intervene early and control the maintenance cycle, and therefore control the flow of goods. I've also seen, call management. In other words, in your contact center is another great example of that. Debt and credit risk analytics. Who should or should I not offer credit or debt facilities toward? Really powerful in that. And this artificial intelligence, machine learning really starts to work to the cognitive and visual skills of a human being. Now we're into the thinkity-think side, where RPA was into the doing or the clickety-click side.
And I'd like to also we've touched on natural language processing, computer vision, predictive analytics, just really briefly here. We will go into these and give them each their own podcast, because there's a lot to talk about on these, but just on the intelligent automation piece, we'll just go over them quickly as those levers. But a more in-depth discussion is really needed on each of those. The third one here is BPM, business process management. Now, I don't think likely that anyone won't have heard of BPM or been involved or utilized these type of tools. Most large organizations or medium organizations will have a BPM tool implemented. And this really looks at process mapping and modeling, workflow automation, and analytics and reporting. It's one of the major levers here, but we don't really need to talk about it in too much detail, as I think everyone should be pretty aware about BPM.
Yeah, I think so. It's one of those technologies, Dan, when you're in the computing industry, you really know it, but maybe consumers aren't familiar with it. But this goes down to, as you say, the process mapping and modeling, workflow automation, and then obviously great tools understand or offer you analytics to allow you better understanding of your organizational and operational workflows. A really cool tool. I don't hear this as much as I think we should.
And do you think we don't hear it because it's become the standard?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of things. For lots of organizations who are advanced in their automation journey, it is a staple. It's the bit that RPA and intelligent automation didn't do, the governance and management of the workflows themselves. We have a lot of new people coming into IT all the time. And of course, there's always the new sexy, shiny thing. But tools like BPM work. They're stable. They've been around for years. We probably take them for granted. So I'd say it's more a mixture of we take them for granted in the organizations that understand the need to organize their workflows. Maybe newer folks to the industry aren't as familiar because they're probably concentrating on ChatGPT or generative AI. But there are some stable foundations you need to put into a sizable organization, and this is one of them.
Yeah, the market loves buzzwords and those new and shiny things. But before forgetting about the importance of something like BPM. The fourth one here we've got on our list is IDP, Intelligent Document Processing. And this could have fit into the AI category, but I wanted to give it its own subsection. This really combines AI, machine learning, NLP, and computer vision to automate the processing of documents. So if you imagine about a decade ago, I think on one of our other podcasts, I gave the example of where we had handwriting from India. I think it was invoices or reports. And we just didn't have the technology then to be able to actually decipher what some of that handwriting meant or what it was actually trying to depict. And I couldn't do some of the invoices myself. So there was the challenge. But now with this type of technology, it's come on so much that it's almost a given as part of a process. If you do have those type of documents that need to be automatically processed and not with a human looking at them and then putting data from one area to the other. So we've seen this firsthand, right, Kieran? This is an incredibly useful lever to use and really cuts out a huge chunk of processes.
Oh, my goodness, it is. If you look at the evolution of the automation market, we start out with OCR, the optical character recognition we mentioned earlier on. Reasonably simple, but effective when used correctly. Then we add AI into this to get AI plus OCR, which equals, our IDP or intelligent document processing, which opens up complex tables and queries and multilingual languages and handwriting and everything else. So now all of a sudden that huge or vast amount of knowledge or data contained within an organization's documents and unstructured documents at that, suddenly that becomes accessible and available. And those organizations who extract that information using IDP and then put it to great use, my goodness, can they gain a competitive advantage in the market? And this technology, when used above and beyond OCR, is potentially a heck of a lot more accurate. So all of a sudden, now the number of documents that you can absorb widens greatly. And let's be honest, Dan, organizations still aren't short of documents, but who likes to do manual copying and processing that's subject to risk, that's subject to human error, that's mundane and boring? So this is one that I actually absolutely adore when it comes to putting automation into businesses because of the volume of documents alone.
Yeah, and we were doing a project the other day. I think it was 10,000 invoices a day. And we, on that trend analysis, we saw some crazy trends that if an individual or multiple individuals were looking at those invoices, they just wouldn't see those type of trends. And that they could really look at individual customers submitting those invoices. And then we could give them really valuable information off the back of that. Right. And we could also identify those customers that were doing their invoices completely wrong that we likely wouldn't have seen beforehand. And you could really narrow down on that.
Yeah, that's the challenge, isn't it? When you've thousands and thousands and thousands of documents a year, you have to forgive people for making mistakes. I tend to get things right for about the first 100. And after that, my goodness, my eyes are shutting. So again, to your point, volume, risk management, accuracy of data, because you want that data to be correct at all points in your system so you can use it for financial forecasting, for your procure to pay, for your hospital decision making or whatever else. So the more accurate you can get, the more support you can provide people and remove some of the risks, the better. That's why I so like this tech.
Yeah, and I think you can just see by the amount of time that we've been talking on it how interested we both are. Number 5 here is chatbots and virtual assistants. And these tools utilize AI to sort of simulate human conversation. I think we had a conversation on a previous podcast about this, where I get fooled occasionally by someone ringing and I think it's a person and it's actually an automated bot. It's only on about the 4th or 5th sentence that I realize I'm not speaking to a person here. They do a really good job now. Not all organizations do. I think I was speaking to my bank. I won't name the bank, but I was speaking to them very recently and couldn't get through to a person. And it was probably one of the worst chatbots or virtual assistants I've ever spoken to.
So yeah, everyone's up to speed. People have been put off by really bad experiences. They what I call the computer says no, or the FAQ bots. So in other words, unless you ask a question in a very specific way, and this is a very bad attempt to dump calls onto customers, it's not a digital experience that you would actually want. Doing like that, now you've got chatbots plus AI, and you've got chatbots plus AI plus generative AI. So all of a sudden they turn into the virtual digital assistants that really can do a lot of the customer support, the inquiries, the internal business process answering, for example. Let's be honest, we got HR service desk, ops service desk, finance service desk, so many service desks where there's thousands of common queries a year. Why not provide a digital interface to let anybody who's used to using Facebook or any social media or any questioning platform, why not give them the tools that they want and need 24/7 to allow them to get access to the knowledge that they want and can virtually and digitally? You don't need a human for all of that. And the benefit of that, obviously, Dan, where I'm not answering thousands of the same questions every year and getting really bored, and my attrition is going up in all of my teams because I need to move on. I can't stand answering how many days holidays have you got left for the rest of the year. You can now suddenly start to employ those individuals in much more productive, much more valuable ways inside of your business, whilst creating a great digital experience for your staff or customers or partners or supplier industries.
Yeah, 100%. It's become far more like a conversation now and not just a decision tree of answers you get back, which is fantastic.
I'm no longer fighting with my bank robot either. And like you, I will save their blushes.
The next one, number 6, analytics and reporting tools. And I think everyone understands sort of what these are and why they're important, but I'll go into a couple examples. In my sector, for example, analytics and reporting on real-time monitoring of processes running live. And this could be across everything we've just discussed, right? It doesn't just have to be that RPA, intelligent automation segment. That data and that monitoring is so crucial for all stakeholders involved. And for us as an organization, that's been a real game changer. So those analytics and reporting tools, I can't imagine there'll be many organizations, small or large, that don't have those in some way within their organization. And with the introduction of AI and ML, those analytics and reporting tools have become so much more valuable.
Yeah, it's interesting because for years, people have missed out on the most valuable thing inside of the business as they put technology into place. And that was the data that's been carried in the background or across these applications. An amazingly well-trained, highly emotionally intelligent individual who is augmented with amazing technology and what I call decision insight, i.e. the analytics being available to tell them, diagnostic, what actually happened, descriptive, why did it happen, predictive, what's going to happen, or prescriptive, if I want to get to this particular future, what is it that I need to do to get me there? I'm a massive fan of data analytics and reporting and the tools themselves, because it arms me with information I need to make better decisions to outcompete all of my competition. And that works so wonderfully well at every size of organization that I've ever come across.
Yeah, and the final one here then is low code, no code platforms, and I think Kieran will also do a podcast on this topic as well, because I think there are so many avenues you can go down.
Yeah, it really is an attempt to democratize software engineering. Now, if you take the example of a scientific calculator, we don't use an abacus to do what we're doing. There's a great deal of logic behind it. We understand the process of how the math got there. Well, let's be honest, code is a very logical thing. You can get it right or you can get it wrong. You can get a lot of automation on the front end of very complex code by creating or using low-code, no-code platforms that allow you to drag visual boxes or tools or images across. So let me give you an example. I can use Microsoft Power Automate. What I can do is point an image toward my email inbox. I can then grab another image and get it to do something. So for example, I could have an email interpretation engine that suddenly reads the email and comes up with a standard reply and puts that email in front of me where I can hit reply and respond, saving me a huge amount of time. And if I train it right to reflect the pitch and tone of my voice, if I put the right AI in behind it to make sure I'm not saying anything risky or committing an organization to anything, that is a fantastic thing to be able to do. Does that involve a software engineer with 20 years experience? No, it doesn't need to. These tools are removing the complexity from coding to allow what I call citizen developers or citizen innovators, in other words, people inside of a business who do not come traditionally from a computing engineering or degree background, to allow them to do the things that they want or need to do. The real equivalent at the moment to this has probably been Excel for years. I give you an application that allows you to do complex mathematics really easily. I don't need the finance department to do it every time. Low-code tools are the same equivalent. I'm now giving you drag and drop technology that allows you to code things that you know and you want to get done inside of your business without needing to rely on IT or putting yourself into the back of, let's be honest, very long IT queues and backlogs.
Yeah, it really puts the power in the individual's hands, right? Which can be incredibly powerful.
And hugely liberating, both for the individual themselves and for the actual IT team in the business. You want everybody innovating, and this is the tooling that allows everyone to get involved. Obviously, you want to put good governance around that training, coaching, mentorship, and support, but we've talked about that in one of our earlier podcasts, and if we haven't, we certainly will in the coming future.
Yes, we've covered there the 7 parts of intelligent automation. As I said earlier, can be many more. Now we're going to look to some of the benefits, why organizations would choose to pull one or all of these levers. So the first one here for me would be increased efficiency and productivity. It's that automation of those repetitive tasks that really do free up your employees and boost the overall productivity. You've also got much faster processing. You now have processes that can run 24/7 as opposed to just a single shift, and they can also work a lot faster than an individual can in most of the cases, right? I'm not going to say all of the cases here because I've seen some terrible application speeds recently, but in general, 1.5, 2, even 3 times faster that they can process and work whatever items or queues you might have.
Yeah, robots don't get tired. Do you know what I mean? Whereas we do, after having done 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours, we're kind of exhausted and we want to go home. Whereas a robot itself or a digital worker is just hungry for more data. So I like this one. Second one for me, Dan, will be, cost reduction. Everybody needs to do more with less. And we're talking about here, labor savings, for example. So where automation can handle tasks that requires human intervention or human actions, and you can replace that, then your go forward cost with your human workforce doesn't need to be as expensive. When you can get savings there through not hiring more people, through an attrition model, not paying for overtime. You also get the fact that automation tends not to get things wrong. When we're copying, pasting between screens or applications, with respect to us as humans, we will get it wrong because that's the nature of copy paste 100,000 times. It's just dull and boring and mundane. You start to get tired, you'll make mistakes, but that will save money if we use automation by avoiding corrections or rework, generally getting things done in a lot more efficient, faster way. And if we can, as we're doing all these things, redesign or streamline our processes, we'll get things done quicker, better, faster. And that in itself, on all the actions I described at the savings beforehand, can lead to really significant cost savings for organizations of every size.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest here, most organizations, if they're looking to pull these levers, cost is normally number one, right? Any bid you submit, normally the first thing they look for is straight to cost. So
which
you
is
can get this,
pity, isn't it, though? Because this is the thing about automation technology. You get more than one benefit. And yes, cost is an absolute 101, but the efficiency thing that you talked about a moment ago and the productivity, absolutely fantastic. So now we can start talking about, not just cost saving, but income generation. That's the one that really excites me. So now we can do things at less cost, but we can start to use automation and flows. For example, customer rings up, has a query in your bank or credit union or whatever, and we start to identify buying signals where we can start to offer them services or products that they previously didn't know they needed, but they genuinely do. And we can start to upsell and cross-sell or do what Amazon does in the back of the world, which is here's your book or your camera, but you'll probably also need the batteries and the stand. And here's another book. So now you can start to bring brilliant benefits through insight using AI to customers to allow you to use automation to revenue generate. So now you're starting to work on the efficiency, the top line and the bottom line. And that's the really exciting thing. Automation brings more than one benefit. What other benefit do you like, Dan?
And yeah, these five, right, they're not in any particular order. I think it really depends which one's most important and what the goals and objectives of moving into intelligent automation and running a program are. The third one here, enhanced accuracy and consistency. For some organizations, that might be number one, right? Bots don't make mistakes. They are told and executed to do one thing, and that is what they will do. Adding in an AI element, there may be a couple errors, but it will be more of a learning process as opposed to those errors. And the next one was be data integrity there on the enhanced accuracy. Instead of having multiple individuals putting data from one source to another, you can be 100% sure that data is taken by bots from multiple sources and can be relied upon, and there will be no mistakes in there. So that one for me, depending on what industry, and that may be number one as well.
Yeah, look, as you say, people enter the automation world through a variety of different wants and needs and demands, and it can be that as well. But the joy is just get automation in, because now you can, enhance your accuracy and consistency. You can reduce cost. You can improve your margins and your returns. You can improve efficiency and productivity. And on top of that, one of the benefits I like is improve customer or, again, supplier or partner experience. When you put automation in, you can get faster response times. Guess what? Your routine queries being answered, or your customer complaints or your customer questions being resolved quicker, normally results in a happier customer, which impacts your retention numbers, which impacts your overall cost of acquisition, your cost to serve, and your profit. The more personalized you can make those interactions. In other words, move away from the dark ages where you knew you were dealing with a customer and go back to the example where you were mentioning you're getting called by digital workers and you didn't even realize until a period into the call that it was a digital worker. Now, you may open up ethical questions there and it should have announced itself, but it shows you how powerful personalized AI can be when you get in really great customer data and do something really clever with it. And not only can you do something clever with it, but again, you can do that consistently across channel to allow you a reliable customer service, even further boosting customer satisfaction, resulting in probably more customers staying and not exiting or churning from your particular business. And happy customers tend to spend more money, and happy customers tend to tell other people about your service. So now all of a sudden, by doing automation, you could have created a pipeline of customers who stay and recommend your business to all their family, friends, and relatives. That's a good thing.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier as well, improved customer experience. Everyone's had it where they're chatting to whatever company they're calling and you're just either stuck on hold for hours or you're just going around in circles with a bot. You've also had it the other way where you've had fantastic customer experience, either from a chatbot and you get everything you need, or from a virtual assistant, or in any of those, right? And you really see, you've come away and thought that was easy. So you can just see the huge difference between using good technology and bad.
Absolutely. Things have progressed. And that's a bit where maybe automation hasn't worked for you to date. It doesn't mean that automation doesn't work. It may mean, with respect, that whoever did it in your organization hasn't done it quite right. So one of the things I would be recommending is revisit automation. Revisit all of the tooling, and particularly the intelligent automation tools that are now available, including all the way down to very intelligent, very AI-led, low-code, no-code tools, development tools, conversational AI. You will be very surprised as to what you can do today.
Yeah, and that brings us on to the last one then, number 5, which is scalability and flexibility. So with these solutions, a lot of them are incredibly scalable. I'm not saying they're easy to scale necessarily. I'm not talking for all of them, but they are incredibly scalable. So they can handle increased workloads, whereas before you'd need to add X number of individuals or FTEs in order to do that. That can be upscaled, downscaled, just depending on the number of bots you put to that.
Yeah, I really like that one. When organizations need to ramp up at short notice, it's really difficult to get people in, to get them over the line into the org by the time you've advertised, interviewed, onboarded them, put them through training teams, risk teams, taught them all the processes and whatever else. And if your market changes, you suddenly have to let them go. And that's a great personal cost and financial cost. If you want to ramp up or ramp down your capacity, you can add 1 robot, 50 robots, 100 robots with the click of a button and the update of a license. And all of a sudden, now you're serving customers 1 million billion times better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you look at peak volumes. I think I did this the other day. The peak volumes are really over Christmas for one of our customers on one individual process. It's just a small example, but we could just add licenses for that 1.5 month period, handle those volumes, and then bring it down again. So it was just a perfect solution instead of having to hire and train individuals. Obviously, it's on a small scale, but you can just see how flexible you can be with sort of your solution.